Welcome back to AM Northwest. It's a treatment for trauma that can change a person's life for the better in only 15 minutes. Here to share more, we welcome the co-author of The Invisible Machine, Jamie Mustard, along with naturopathic and chiropractic physician Ryan Wood. Good to have you both with us. Jamie, good to see you again.
You too. Thank you for having us.
You bet. Let's talk about how trauma can alter a person's nervous system.
Trauma is not the disorder that we've all been taught to believe that it is.
Right.
It's actually a 100% a biological injury. It is a broken leg you can't see. And for the last 20 years, mostly in the military and for first responders, there's been a treatment that's been developed that can reset the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, to the pre-trauma state. I've done it, and it's the most profound thing that I've ever done in my life for my own betterment.
You experienced a lot of trauma as a child.
I did.
A lot.
I did.
And it really made a difference for you.
Making a difference would be the understatement of the century.
Okay.
I would say that it's the most important medical innovation since the discovery of penicillin in 1928, and far outweighs in terms of lives it could save in a single year, it far outweighs the polio vaccine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always love his enthusiasm about this, but yeah, I agree. It's an incredible procedure. We've changed thousands of lives using it.
How does it work?
Well, basically what we do is we put a little bit of an anesthetic in your neck, on a nerve in your neck, and that highway between the fear-based brain and our body's response to sort of the physiologic stimulus of like the fight or flight mechanism. So if you think about that in simple terms, like anxiety, you know, if somebody scares you and you get that fear or startle response,
sure,
that part of your brain is the fear brain. And this block essentially calms that part of your brain down. It just resets it, right? So a little anesthetic in the neck, a few minutes later, your body separates that fear response from its stimulus to your body, right? So your body doesn't react the same. And given enough time, when the system resets and it comes back online, you're basically calming down. You're calming down that fight or flight reaction. So people with anxiety, people with sort of the hypervigilance.
And the anxiety being caused by trauma that they experienced in whatever event it was.
Like, when our brains change due to trauma over time,
right,
you know, we consider it injury like he was talking about.
Yeah.
And we have a way to modulate that now.
What's it called?
It's called the stellate ganglion block, but there are a lot of acronyms.
Or the dual sympathetic reset.
To keep it simple in research, everybody in the medical community understands what the ganglion block is. Lay people, not so much, right? So we've kind of had to come up with ways to talk about it in terms of how we treat trauma versus what the medical community knows. And so Jamie coined
the dual sympathetic reset, and kind of how we think it works. The doctor won't say this, but I can say this. How they think it works is that there's a nerve chain in our neck, which is where our sympathetic nervous system lives, on each side of our neck. And it's actually ultrasound guided for him to get the local anesthetic to the right place. It's the same anesthetic that goes into an epidural because it wears off very quickly. And they basically turn off the nerves in that section of the neck, which is called the stellate ganglion. And when they turn back on, it turns on to the pre-trauma state. What it's doing is it's breaking the feedback loop. This is the physical injury.
Yeah.
When you get traumatized, if you get elevated from a huge, something, sexual assault or some major, war, and you get too elevated, you don't come back down. The other thing, it's the primary cause for this, and why I think it's probably affecting 60 to 80% of Americans, is chronic allostatic load, or chronic toxic stress. Staying elevated, you never come down. You've actually changed your physiology. It's a broken leg you can't see. And what we think is going on is when you stay in that elevated state, you grow extra nerve receptors in this nerve chain. And when he puts in that anesthetic, those receptors go back to normal.
Yeah.
And it breaks the feedback loop between the sympathetic nervous system and the amygdala. How am I doing, Doc?
You're doing great.
Okay.
I mean, that's very accurate. We look at it as trauma. We're trying to change the discussion between post-traumatic stress disorder versus it being an injury.
Right.
And like what he's talking about being the broken leg you can't see.
Right.
If you're exposed to trauma, or like war or domestic violence or childhood trauma, things like this, or the allostatic load, a lifetime of stress, which we all, especially right now, are living through, the brain changes its chemistry.
Yeah.
And when the brain changes, we consider that an injury now in the medical science, right? Because we can actually measure, like, for example, the prefrontal cortex in the hippocampus shrinking in the brain. And these parts of the brain do things like modulate our reactivity. do you quickly get angry? Or they modulate our happy hormones like
Right.
GABA and serotonin, these chemicals that our brain signal to make us happy.
Right.
Right. And if the fear brain is quieting those parts of the brain because it's broken,
Right.
they don't work as well.
Let's go to, you were invited to Armenia.
Yeah, can I say one more super quick thing?
Sure.
One of the reasons I'm so happy you invited us is because this doctor has he's done almost 3,000 of these things. He's
More
one of
than
the
that.
top doctors in the world in terms of this procedure, and he's in Portland.
Yeah.
So I want this for the people of Portland. That's
Yeah.
why I'm here. And also, the last example I would give is if you were to take an animal and harm it and torture it for a day, and then put it up in the Ritz-Carlton for the rest of its life, that animal would still never be the same. It would be
No.
aggressive, fight, or it
Right.
would be timid, flight,
Right.
anxiety, hypervigilance, sense of doom, hyperarousal, lack of sleep. These are all things we would be happening if we were running from a tiger.
Sure.
We didn't change that animal's biology. We did change that animal's biology. You're not giving an animal a disorder.
Right.
So the doctors have known for 50 years that
It's an
trauma
injury.
is a biological injury.
Yeah.
So,
You
that's
were
what I'm saying.
invited to Armenia to speak
Yeah.
there. And how did that go? Because you're dealing
Oh.
with a lot of people with PTSD.
Yeah, I mean, there was Armenia in general suffered the genocide in 1908, right? And then they've been at battle with Azerbaijan, their neighbors, in 2020, and then again in 2023. So they've been in continuous war in some way or another. And
Right.
I think the population in general just understands or feels that heaviness all the time.
Sure.
So we were invited over Jamie and I were invited over to lecture on this and to teach their physicians there how to perform the blocks. And then I spent 4 days treating survivors of war,
Wow.
genocide.
Yeah.
We got to meet with an NGO, non-government organization, which is Mission Armenia. We got to speak to a lot of the survivors from the recent Azerbaijan-Armenian conflict. Personally, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. It was a medical mission.
Yeah.
So we were able to help people, help change lives, and also carry a message that, look, there's this really unique treatment that we have that has the potential to change the world. And
Yeah.
I'm not quite the spokesman he is in that, but he is correct. This
Right.
has the potential to change millions and millions of people's lives.
Absolutely. The book, again, is titled The Invisible Machine. Jamie, and I also want to congratulate you, too. Your book you were on before, called Child X, A Memoir of Slavery, Poverty, Celebrity, and Scientology, is up for an Oregon Book Award, which I'm not surprised. So I wanted to bring that up. That's incredible.
Thank you. I really appreciate
So
that.
we're going to put a link on our website to yours so people can find out more and also more information about the books as well. Thank you both so much. This is incredible. This
you.
really is incredible. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away. Yeah, it's incredible.